Hey Facebook friends, Mary Ann here. I just want to wish everybody a happy new year. I know my tweet is still up. I've been too lazy to take it down, so enjoy it. I wanted to say thank you to all of you who took the time to write to me and tell me about the amazing things that you are doing in this world. There are so many kick-ass humanitarians out there, and each of you has been making a huge difference in your part of the world. And I admit, during the first few days of 2025 and the last weeks of December, I was feeling like crap. I was basically down with migraines and seizures, and your stories, you know who you are. All of you that are sending me stuff about what you are doing out there, Emmanuel Jal with your new school in New Sudan, Tina Hui with what you're trying to push out there to help women and the environment, Bill Shireman, how you're linking people together on the right and the left. So many of you, Theo Wilson, with the vision that you have to try and celebrate what people are actively doing positively around the globe, Angel Salou with what you're doing down there in Yucatan. I could go on and on. Point is, I've read every single one of them, and I am inspired by all of you. So huge shout out to each of you. If I didn't name you by name, please know I did hear you. I did read what you sent, and your story helped me get off the couch and become more inspired and more energized to re-embrace life. Today was the first day I was out there with my weights exercising in a while, and each of you helped me feel up to doing that, because knowing that there are people like you in the world, it lifts others up, including myself. So thank you for that incredible gift of inspiration. What I also want to reach out and share with you is because some of you are also feeling down in the dumps, and I completely get it. It is depressing to hear some of the stuff that's in the news right now. Many of us have been reeling from what we saw, with New Orleans, what we've seen, people shouting, about anti-immigrant this, all these different extremes. And so I wanted to take a step back, ask you to take a breath, and I want to share with you a bit of history, because it's important to look at history when we're trying to analyze what's happening today. And a number of years ago, when I was first getting into my humanitarian work, I got the privilege of meeting a man by name Imam Shakur, and I got to meet his mentor, who was in his late 80s at the time. Now, this was almost 20 some years ago, but there's an area in Dallas called Joppy, and it's actually spelled Joppa, J-O-P-P-A, but everyone calls it Joppy. And it's a freedman's town. And for those of you who don't know what a freedman's town is, it's actually exactly what it sounds like, freedman's town. When the slaves were freed, they went off, they created their own towns, and eventually large cities like Dallas swallowed them up. So Joppy was the freedman's town in our area, freed Texas slaves, and eventually became part of Dallas. Now, what a lot of people don't know, most people hear about how Malcolm X and MLK just hated each other and were opposed to everything, but many people don't know that they routinely met in secret in Joppy here in Dallas. And the reason they did that is because they understood that what Martin Luther King was proposing was so extremely different from what anyone had known. Now, keep in mind, let's put a little perspective on history here. When I was looking at a old newspaper clipping when my dad was being sworn in to serve for World War II, I looked on the back of that newspaper, and guess what's on the back of it? It was a reunion of Civil War veterans. So we think this is a long time ago. It's not that long ago. So if we think about how recent mentality was going on and how often the older generations are the ones in charge, we can understand that what MLK was up against was some lingering Civil War mentality, people that were truly against integration. And in order to get things done, he and Malcolm X talked and they strategized. So Malcolm X would pretend to be even more extreme. He would go as far as he could over there, because they knew that by default, it would make MLK seem like the middle road, which would be a lot easier. People were used to this. They could feel like they're just hopping over here instead of taking a big leap over there. And it was all set up with intention. And that is how the two men strategized to try and move the sociological mentality of the American public to accepting integration. Well, the reason why I'm sharing this bit of history with you is because I think this is the same pattern that we're seeing right now. How right back then it was used for the good side, the good guys. But unfortunately, I think the same pattern is being harnessed We're the bad guys right now. And by that, I don't mean Republicans. I mean people that are being duped by the whole Trump is the new Messiah mentality. Because when you hear people talk about things like, let's make interracial marriage illegal again. Let's say if you only had one parent who was a citizen and the other was an immigrant, let's try and take away your citizenship. These kind of crazy thoughts, they're extreme. But I don't think that they're extreme by happenstance. I'm not saying that the people who are proposing them, like Stephen Miller or Steve Bannon, those kinds of craziness, I'm not saying that they are not true believers. I'm saying that the people who want to make certain changes that are not in our best interest see them as helpful, because if they can let them be loud over there, they're serving kind of the role that Malcolm X was. Loud, being very disagreeable, making everybody see them, so that by default, what they're proposing can be more acceptable. And what I want to warn all of you is to be aware of history, because we don't want to be duped in this way. We don't want to be duped into accepting things we would have never accepted as a society a long time ago. Or actually, not that long ago. Not that long ago would we have ever really wanted to be that interested in what our neighbor was doing in their bedroom, whether they were an interracial couple or LGBT couple. There was kind of a, like my mom would joke about the first LGBT couple on her block. You know what? Their yard always is the best one in the area. So that's all I care about. Their yard looks nice. I get to enjoy their yard. But for some reason, a lot of us are being duped into really getting into each other's business. And the weird thing is, not that long ago, it was the conservatives who were kind of like, stay out of each other's business. So it's kind of weird to hear some of the things that are going around. But I wanted to bring everyone's attention to this because I don't want you to be duped. Because what happens is it doesn't matter how much money you have, how much power you have, we have a limited, finite amount of energy. And one of the most powerful things that you can do during this time is to be very focused on those things that you can control, those things that you can have an impact on. So if your big thing for the last number of years has been the environment, then fight for it. If your big thing for the last number of years has been on women's rights, then fight for it. If it's been on immigrants, then fight for it. If it's been on interracial or interfaith relations, then fight for it. Defend those things that have helped our community to become better and progress and to move into the 21st century, because that is what needs to be done now more than ever. So that's my words of encouragement for those of you out there that are feeling kind of mired in the muck. Do not let yourself get misdirected. Make sure that you remain focused. Make sure that, yes, you defend those things and those values, but make sure that you pay attention. If something seemed wild and crazy and insane over here, step back and go, what's not so insane? What's not so loud that might be being slipped under the radar right here? Because that might be the bigger thing that we need to be focusing on, that we need to be addressing and that we need to protect against. So those are my words of insight to all of you. And changing gears here, speaking about activists, I want to mention that under Thompson-Frenk Inc., as many of you know, we have worked out a relationship with Waterside Publishing, so getting into publishing, and we should have our very first book coming out, and it will be Reverend Peter Johnson's autobiography. And we are expecting that to come out in time, keeping my fingers crossed, in time for African American History Month. So keep an eye on that. He was such an incredible man, is such an incredible man, that when he was younger, he was one of the leaders of one of the most violent, powerful gangs in the New Orleans, Louisiana area. And then he got converted into embracing nonviolent resistance and was later assigned to oversee integration and the fight for it here in Texas. But he also did amazing work in Louisiana, Alabama, Arkansas, all over the place. So please, please check it out when it comes out. We'll definitely be doing more shout out on that soon. So anyway, so that's TFA. Also wanted to give a huge shout out to my team at the Mimnesy Institute because, and I'm so excited about this, we are being given several awards from the United Nations with Logic Day. Logic Day is an event that the United Nations put out there because they realized one of the biggest concerns in the world was addressing a lack of logic or a reducing of logic in the world. And they're saying, how can we help all of our species to keep moving forward in a positive direction, and that would be by helping the way people think. Not telling people what to think, but making sure that they are fully embracing the full capacity of their brains. So one of the things they were doing is having different events in every country that you can think of that are parts of the UN. And the people that have been in charge of this for the last number of years have been Chelsea Toller and Chris Fonda, and they've been doing this down at the University of Texas in Austin for the last number of years. However, this year it is being done at the United Nations, and the UN is presenting this award with them. So unlike a number of other events, which are just events at the UN, this is an actual United Nations award. And one of them is being presented to Green Source Texas. Most of you know it as Green Source DFW up to now. It was the vision of Dr. Philip Shinoda, because he wanted to bring together all different types of people who care about the environment, from the activists, grassroots people, like Commissary is Very Necessary, to the big groups like Sierra Club, all the way to people that are trying to do social responsible investing, all the way to people that are inventors. Every one of them felt like they're part of the green community, but were in silos. And Philip Shinoda said, you know what, they're spokes on the same wheel, and we need to make sure that they recognize that, because unless they recognize that, this wheel can't move forward. And he created Green Source DFW and did an amazing job, and Wendell Withrow has taken that torch and has built it into something even more incredible, embracing even more communities. And Julie Thibodeau has done a fantastic job. When so many of the eco-writers were let go of under the last Trump administration throughout the state of Texas, we were able to hire them, and they wrote incredible content. And what began not as a means of activism was simply a means of trying to unite the green community. It actually became an activist front, because people started publishing what people needed to know from all around the state. Now, up to now, it's focused on just Green Source DFW in North Texas, but starting this year in 2025, we are taking it statewide. For those that do not know, Texas is larger than the country of France. So this is a huge undertaking, and I cannot say enough good stuff about Julie Thibodeau, Wendell Withrow, and our incredible writers like Amy Martin. I'll check out her book, by the way, if you haven't seen it. But also have to, huge shout out once again to Dr. Philip Shinoda. If you're seeing this, please know your legacy continues to grow and bloom, and the award at the United Nations that is being presented to the Mimsy Institute in behalf of Green Source Texas is being done because of your vision. So Dr. Philip Shinoda, lots of love to you, and huge appreciation to Wendell and to Julie and to our incredible writers. Another award at that same event is also being given to Thomas Q. Johns, and he is receiving this award because of his work on the Vital Signs Monitor, an AI that was designed on the work, based on the work of our late advisory board member, Dr. Don Edward Beck, based on his spiral dynamics, which he based on the work of Claire W. Graves. And the Vital Signs Monitor, just like the body has vital signs, the Vital Signs Monitor is measuring the vital signs of any given society, whether it's a tiny town or a nation or anything in between, and helping people understand, how do you know where you are in terms of meeting sustainable development goals? How do you assess yourself? How do you see what you need to do? And how can you move forward and get closer to meeting those goals? That is what the brilliant mind behind Thomas Q. Johns has. And I can't say enough amazing things about him. I've met many geniuses. I know I'm blessed to say that. I have met many geniuses around the world, and some are geniuses with sociological and psychological factors, and some are geniuses with computer and engineering, and usually those don't mesh. They do in the mind of Thomas Q. Johns, and we are so blessed to have had Dr. Don Edward Beck bring him to the Mimsy Institute, and for him to be part of our organization, and his leadership has become more and more and more invaluable. So huge congratulations to you, Thomas, for being presented this award at the United Nations. You 100% deserve it, and it is my hope that as we combine work with his AI, the Vital Signs Monitor he's worked so hard on, with the AI that Logic Tree has, that we will be able to design something that will end up uplifting so many other people. Anyway, moving on from that, also want to give a huge shout out to my husband, Joshua Raymond Frank. Many of you see me as the one on camera or on stage because I don't mind looking ridiculous. He's the much more reserved, probably sane between the two of us, that is always there. And I could not do what I do in and out without him. When, over the last number of weeks when I've been dealing with my migraines and seizures. He's the one that's been helping to take care of me. He's been the one who's, cooked for New Year's. He's been the one that, when I have gone on stage in the middle of a migraine and people don't know and I get off stage, he's the one right there with my medicine, helping me see, even though I can't see with the migraine going on. I could not do what I do without my husband. So huge, huge gratitude to Joshua. Thank you. Thank you for everything that you do. Anyone that has a spouse like that, you're really, really, really blessed. And it's something that I don't take for granted. So anyway, I want to give a huge shout out to all of them. Also, moving gears, with UTF Holdings, I've been very, very blessed to be doing collaborative work with my partner, Kalu and Gormo, and we are really excited that we will be having several SPVs being launched. One is for the Women's Fund, and we will be doing incredible work that is highlighting and encouraging women, women that are doing leadership, whether it's in the environment, whether it's in medicine, many other things, and we're going to be doing this in tangent with Robertson Wealth. So keep an eye on that. We also have another fund that is coming out, and it is going to be on African American, Black European, and Africa. We're combining all of that together, and among the groups in there, let me just say, stay tuned. I can't put that on the record yet, but it is super exciting, and I believe in February, just in time for African American History Month, you're going to get to hear some really exciting things on that one. So that is also going to be coming down the pike. And we also have an eco and environment fund. So many, many good pieces of news on that as well. So lots more to share with you, but that's about it for now. And I want to also give a huge shout out to the cultural centers that we have going on, and down in the Yucatan and in Teotihuacan. They are doing incredible work through the Mimosine Institute. Cannot say enough about them. Really, I never go online and ask people to donate that often, but we can't do this alone. And we have an incredible opportunity to try and help the Tolteca have a museum we pulled together. And I really, really, really want to make this happen. So if any of you, some of you reach out to me and say, oh, I love the spirituality and the depth of what Ricardo talks about. Can I meet him? Yes, but also help them. Many of you tell me, I want to go and have a retreat with the Maya community. They look so amazing. Yes, but also help them, please. So please connect with us on those two cultural centers, because you can go down there. You can have deep spiritual personal experiences and meet people in an authentic cultural way and see sacred places. But there are real people also dealing with human rights issues. And it's important not to romanticize culture so much that you forget that there are real people whose cultures they are that are dealing often with the side effects of things that major nations and corporations are making decisions on every day. So please, please do check that out. I also want to give a huge shout out to Reverend Hiromi Yano, who is heading up our Mimosine Institute chapter for Asia, and he has done a ton of preliminary work throughout 2024 and is about to launch the work on reconciliation between South Korea and Japan. As many of you know or may not know, his goal is to begin reconciliation work not only with South Korea and Japan, but also reconciliation work between the Japanese people and the Ainu, who were the original indigenous people of Japan, and also the Japanese people and people in Southeastern Asia. So keep an eye on that. And there's a lot more coming down the pike, but I think that's about it for now. So lots of love to everybody. Hope your new year is a good one. And I look forward to catching up with all of you. And again, thank you for all of the updates and all of the amazing things. Oh, I almost forgot. Huge shout out to Global Woman. I understand this was a vote among the different membership. It wasn't just dictated by my friend, CEO Morella Sula. But so thank you to all the women who participated in the Global Woman magazine, putting out votes for this, for nominating me and awarding me as one of the most influential women to look out for in 2025. I promise I will do my best to live up to that. So talk to all of you soon.